Hi everyone, welcome to Any Day, Anytime Garrett's at the Little Garrett Manor. I'm checking out the lay of the land, seeing how things are going. We had a little critter that was trying to live under the side of the storage house here. We added some chicken wire, which is something I was suggested and totally works. I actually had put chicken wire around the perimeter of this entire building a few years ago, but somehow there's this one spot where they love to try to get in. Chipmunks are always looking for a place to live, rabbits, you name it. And it looks like we remedied that because I don't see any activity. And this is a remainder of the plants. You can see they've died down, died back, because the weather here has been almost 100 degrees many days. Today, it's probably like, I'm going to say 77, 78 degrees. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful out here. These are the dogwood berries, not even close to being ripe. And I said in previous videos, you guys, you can eat dogwood berry pulp, not the seed, but the pulp. You suck it off of the seed. Delicious and sweet. People make wines out of them. I just consume the berry a little, not that often, but here is a little tiny patch of mint that I am trying to save. Basically, this was growing in a container. It was huge, and I just honestly wanted to get it out of the container. And over here, I wouldn't mind if it became prolific and took over. I don't really plan on planting anything underneath this dogwood tree, so let's see what happens. I mean, it survived rainstorms, this tremendous heat that we've had, so I think it'll be fine. Our raised garden beds that are out in the yard, or yards, actually, we have overfilled with soil because I'm going to show you guys something on the deck that will be kind of surprising. Here's our famous boxwood. Beautiful with these colors of like burnt maroon, sort of like a burnt wine color. This boxwood bush is doing amazingly. And then here we have the remainder of the lilies and the irises. This is a lily plant, but it's definitely the end. Here's iris here, come to the end of their season. What I like though is even when the greenery is left, it's especially with these irises, it looks like an ornamental grass. So I just let it go. I did transplant some impatiens here and there in some of the garden beds, you could see, because I added a new raised garden bed in their patch. They used to have a gigantic patch, and now that patch is being used for other things, growing food. Not right now. Right now, what I'm establishing over in that area, we'll get there in a minute, is asparagus. So we have our butterfly bush here. It's huge, it's prolific. I really have to cut it back this season. I was trying to con my husband for another season, but as you can see, as I continue backing up, it's really large. It's like it has these two arms that go out to the left and the right, and those are the two pieces on the left and the right that I'll probably be trimming off. Nothing else. Everything else I'll just let it go. The hostas, as usual, they always come through, and we have these giant hostas, but the flowers are amazing. Once again, that word prolific. We have tons and tons and tons. I don't know if we've ever had this many flowers before. And here we have two feather flower plants, one there and a baby there, so you can say mom and daughter. Here we have a trumpet flower bush that's growing from underneath the deck. We are other than trimming it to keep it in check. As a matter of fact, we probably will move this feather flower bush probably like right here. I'll probably move it right here, and then that can grow as big as it wants to, as long as it doesn't come over into this area. That's what I'll do, because I was going to say that back, but I don't think so. I think we're going to let it go, since where the roost is, that's where we used to have a gigantic trumpet flower bush, and all of the hummingbirds loved it. We definitely have had less hummingbirds since we moved that bush, and I'll show you where we moved it. I added some loose stone underneath the step area. Why? Just because we had extra loose stone, no other reason. This fern, and there's a fern over there. I told my husband to let them go and let them grow. He always would chop them down, and they always come back. So why fight Mother Nature? She knows best. And this is where the impatient, and you can see one of the impatiens has come through right here. The impatient patch was in this whole area, and you can see I did leave some around the perimeter of this new raised garden bed. This one is, I think it's like 5 feet long. There was a 6-footer. I was not sure but I could have put a 6-footer in here easily, but I'm glad I didn't, because then that leaves room to trim and get around the left and right sides of this. The asparagus has gone to seed. It's bolted. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 plants that survived. There were supposed to be 12 plants. The others did not survive, so I had to literally pick up their dead carcasses and ship them back to the supplier to get a refund. And then here we have, you can see the indications of a little tiny garlic plant that's growing in there. And another shot of this butterfly bush. Yes, it's tall, you guys. It has to be, is this 8 feet tall? At least 8 feet tall. It towers over me. And it makes me look tiny. So let's go over here. The forest is still the forest. The flaming bushes are huge. They're not flaming red yet, simply because it's summer. But in the fall, the leaves turn to a flaming red color. Beautiful. You'll definitely be getting a view of that. We have residence bunnies that are coming out of the woods over there. You can see that dark area at the bottom of those berry bushes. And we have some that are living on this lower part of our land. Down here is where we have the leaching field for the septic tank. So it's always a lot greener down there, but it's also very swampy and wet. We're still working on the lattice work around the roost. We have a hive of bees, honeybees, I think, that are living inside of this last hole that you see at the bottom. But we, unfortunately, and we keep trying to wait for them to go away. I don't think they're going to go away. And we have to clad the bottom of this, especially before the winter. So we're kind of like, we'll give them a little while, hope that you could see them, they're coming and going, hope that they go about their business, and then we'll be able to clad the bottom by closing that in, and we'll never have bees getting in there again. Here we have to paint the lattice. We still have to secure the edges, because you can see they're open over there. My husband did a horrible job of matching this up. But guess what? We're probably just going to leave it the way it is. All of this underneath, including the wood, is going to be painted gray on the outside anyway. That will match the deck. And then down here we have to push this mulch back up against the lattice. And that will pretty much finish that. Decking, well, not really, because then we have to paint obviously the decking out here as well, which we will do before we clad the bottom because, oh my God, a giant butterfly just flew away. I missed it, damn it. And then here we have, I call these whirligigs. I doubt if it's going to spin around right now, but it's a spinner and it's so pretty. You can see it from inside of the kitchen, the breakfast nook, and the family room. So we tried to position it so that we could get full visual advantage of it. Still have to find a home for this boulder. I don't know why this little rock is out of place. Now you're in place. Let's go over here and look at these planters. Thankfully, these bushes are doing better. After we had that giant tree cut down there, it fell over this way, part of it on these, I can't remember what these bushes are called, arborvitaes or something like that. And the deer love them. They chomp on them. But right here in this section, and you can even see part of our neighbor's house there, the trees seem to be dying, but we kind of decided to leave it for a couple seasons, and this will be season number 1, to see if it'll make a comeback, and boy, has it made a comeback. So I'm glad we did not chop it off, and the brown parts are what we'll chop off, because the whole tree seemed to be dying, but I have to watch out, make sure I don't step on snakes. And in here we have some potato plants. Look at the beautiful potato flowers, are so pretty. Who knew they were this pretty? And here, once again, some residual soil needed to have a home so we could store it. There's a stalk of an onion way down there. So next season that should come through. I think we'll go this way. We never really go this way. Giant air conditioning unit for this house. I don't wanna talk about. And look at our holly bushes. They're doing amazingly. Both bushes were like this. This is probably 5.5 feet tall. And then we have another one over here that was also equally as large. But then, hi, can you see me in the window reflection? But then when the chipmunks decided to build or dig underneath it to build a home, the bush started dying. So I had to save it by trimming it down a lot. So we have the remainder of our little lavender. I never can remember what these pointy little flower plants are called, but those came through really nice. Obviously the remainder of the iris is out here as well. I also snuck in a couple, I thought I put in like 2 bulbs of, let me just see. Yep, that's what it is, of gladiolas, but only one has come through. So we'll see what happens next season. I doubt if it'll have flowers this season, but it's possible. Yeah, as I go along, I do a little bit of weeding here and there, but we're pretty good with the weeding. I really stay up to par on it because I really hate when there's like random things where they don't belong. So cute little area. Let's go over here and look at mushrooms. I have to make sure like you can see these. These are mushrooms. They sort of look like puffer, those big puffer mushrooms, I think is what they're called. I don't know if they are. I don't trust my mushroom knowledge enough to consume any of these, but they also look like snake eggs, but they're not. So here we have this bush, which has these pretty white fluffy flowers. And this bush is probably 8 or 9 feet tall as well. We get a lot of growth on stuff. And then this bush has lost all of its flowers. Wow, it's just so nice out here, you guys. If we didn't have to go to Stanford, ooh, looks like they're making a resurgence. Because these are new flower bulbs. Because this had fully ballooned. I mean, big balloons, the size of someone's face. And now there's brand new little buds in there. So that's interesting. We'll keep a nice eye on that. That's appreciated. The pine cones falling from the pine tree. Which is nice because we don't have pine cones coming off of these trees every year. Probably because of the age. But now we do. And something has dug down in there. We're not going over there. I don't know what it is. Perfect little snake den. Look at this line of mushrooms. Once again, I don't know enough about mushrooms to harvest and consume any. I would not do that. And look at this box bush. It's huge. We used to have a pine tree here, a dwarf pine, but it was like huge. It was like 10 feet tall at least. And you could tell the deer have been here eating. And that's the thing, the deer will eat these mushrooms. But right up here, we had a pine tree. We had to cut it down because it totally died. It was probably about 8 to 10 feet tall. And it just came to the end of its life cycle, I guess. Miniature rose bush, which is doing really well. But it's not. The roses have come and the roses have gone. Can you see this beautiful little, where's that flower? Fuchsia flower. Let's touch you. Right there. Pretty little fuchsia flowers. We have lots of wildflowers because we do natural landscaping, so we love it. And then here we have one of the elderberry bushes. At one point the deer, and you could see where they actually like chomped on all of the top branches, chomped them right off. This was probably another 6 to 8 inches taller. And what I did is I sprayed neem oil on the leaves, which is why they kind of look a little bit palsied right now. And the deer apparently did not like that, which is a good thing, because we want this bush to live and become very prolific and full of beautiful, giant, luscious elderberries. Here's the other elderberry bush, which used to be much bigger than that one, but because last August we dug up and moved this bush, it was an incredible shock, and we were pretty sure we lost it. But after babying it, taking good care of it, it's definitely made a comeback. Here's my plum tree that I planted as a tribute to my grandmother, who had a pomegranate tree, which does not grow here in New England. She lived in Alabama, so totally different climates. We're in zone 6A, and the deer love the lichen on the trunk. They will actually eat the little plums that dangle from the bottom. And this started out as I believe it was a 5 or 6 foot plant when we purchased it from the garden center. And now it must be 20 feet high, at least. It's really big, and what a great canopy it has as well. It's so gorgeous. Just like my grams. And here, if you guys remember, we were transplanting, oh, so sad, a dogwood tree. You can see a little tiny bit of the trunk right there in the middle, that weird circle. And unfortunately, this is where that bush was here, and we moved it there. The dogwood tree used to grow at the side of the deck, and we moved it here. We did that in August. The mulberry bush made it. made a recovery, but the dogwood tree totally died. It was just a bundle of dried up sticks. It was so bad. My husband and I did our own DIY resurfacing of our driveway, and let me tell you, that was a task. And it was hot, but it was kind of fun just to get it done. See, I'm one of those people when it comes to like crazy laborious things. Initially, I'm not excited about it, but I'm one of those folks like it needs to get done. Let's get it done. So it's a giant driveway that could fit probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably 9 or 10 cars in it. So that was no small task. And then we have this foreign, as I call it, type of hosta plant. I really don't think it's a hosta. I just call it a hosta. And then we have our traditional hosta babies over here. We did have a mole that was growing, not growing, but living in here. Apparently it's gone now. We actually found it not living out in our yard, thankfully, due to our resident fox. I love having fox around. It took care of it. And now, ow, things can just grow without being consumed. Well, it's not that they consume the plants, they consume like grubs, but they disturb the roots of the plants, and that's what kills them. So now we don't have that problem. And this is a trumpet flower bush that used to be over on the side of the deck. You can see there's a few of the trumpet flowers. Now that it's over here at the edge of the road, I don't know if it's getting as much activity from the hummingbirds, but it's still alive. Look at it. It's actually, since we moved it, it's literally grown probably another 20%. So this is not a bad spot for it. Not the best soil over here, but what I did, and this is a cheat, is I purchased some bags of Miracle-Gro because this soil over here is incredibly sandy because this area has a lot of granite. It has a lot of, what is that crystal? It's a white crystal. If you guys know what I'm talking about, please leave it down in the comments. But there's this white, I'll actually show you a sample of this stone. We have some in our yard. We have this beautiful white crystal that makes up the soil. It's broken down over the millennia. And there's another stone. Sandstone is pretty prevalent out here. So over the millions of years, it has, stuffy roads. The earth changes, moves, whatever. And it created this really sandy soil. And great for cats, but not great for growing things. So I had to put a bag of Miracle-Gro under this bush, half under that bush, and the other half went under the other two plants I'll show you in a minute. And then I put a ton of compost, and then we put the plants in, and then we put another bag of Miracle-Gro, or half a bag, wherever we needed, so that these plants would really take initially lots of water, and that was it. And look at them. You would think they were here all the time. I can never remember the name of this bush. I do have the tag, but this has been growing on our property for probably, I'm going to say 20 years at least. It used to be at the front of the house, which we haven't gotten to yet. And now it's growing here on the side. And this is its child, which also, we actually got these two at the same exact time. They used to be about the same size. This area, I could tell we probably should have put a whole bag of soil down there, because you can see, look at the size of this one versus the size of this one. So, but still, they look very healthy. They're growing really, really well. Here is a peony, which is doing amazingly. Oh, great. But unfortunately, there's a tunnel under there, so I know that there's a mole somewhere under its roots. But the plant itself looks great. It used to have a giant flower, but obviously that season for the flower has come and gone. And here is another baby, and I do mean an infant version of these two bushes that we planted down there. And we probably will put, I was thinking about putting a plant here, but my husband has to be able to get the mower because this is our land as partially these woods as well. And for whatever reason, he likes this little peninsula over here, so let's let him have his little peninsula. Yep, there's definitely mole activity because here is a tunnel, and what I do is I just step on them when I find them. It doesn't really do a lot because they'll just redig. So I did order, well, it's through the Amazon program I'm in for testing products. They actually have some sort of mole retardant, and you simply screw it in the ground. It works off of solar energy. It makes sonic noises, which are supposed to irritate the moles, and they go away. I mean, honestly, they just go to someone else's property or the woods. And here we have our American hazelnut. My goal for this tree, I said this before, is for it to grow at least up to this level, like right here. It's so bright out here. I hope you guys can see, but to grow at least up to that level. So that's a tiny little goal. I've sprayed this with neem oil as well, simply because I saw a little insect activity. It's gotten some fresh soil around, its perimeter on the ground. Always keep the soil away from the tree trunks or the plants like stems or stalks. You just sort of put a circle amount around it. So let's go back, not back because we haven't been there yet. Let's go over here. And over here I have a cage out